Friends from the media, welcome to today's press conference. Now the floor is yours.
韩联社记者提问：韩国政府表示，朝鲜居民经中国东北被权返回朝鲜的报道基本属实。韩国政府对此深表遗憾，并向中方提出严正交涉。中方对此持何立场？
China is a country of rule of law and protects legitimate rights of foreigners in China in accordance with law and conduct immigration governance in accordance with the law, safeguarding safe and orderly exit and entry is a must in China. The Chinese side will handle this issue in accordance with the international law and domestic laws on humanitarian grounds. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。法新社记者提问。中国外交部长王毅昨天就近期在中东暴力事件首次公开发表评论。他说，巴勒斯坦问题的症结在于一直没有还巴勒斯坦人民这个公道。发言人能不能解释一下王外长的这个观点？谢谢。
昨天，中共中央政治局委员、中央外办主任王毅应约同巴西总统首席特别顾问阿莫林通电话，双方重点就巴以冲突
Amorian chief advisor mainly
王毅夫人表
exchanging
示，
views
中
on
方
the
对巴以紧张局势加剧，
Palestinian-Israel
造成大量平
conflict,
民伤亡，
noting that
深
China
感痛
is
心。
deeply saddened by the rising
我们反对
tension
伤害
between
平
the
民的行为，
Palestinians and Israel.
谴责违反国际法
Dr.
的
Wang
做
Yi
法。
said China opposes acts
中方
that
呼吁
harm
各方采取
civilians
克制
and
态度，
condemns violations
尽
of
快实现
international
现地
law.
局势降
China
温，
calls on all
防
parties
止
to
战火进一
exercise
步扩大。
restraint, de-escalate
当务之
regional
急
tensions
是
as
保
soon
障
as
平民安
possible
全，
and prevent
开辟
further
救援通道，
escalation. It
避免
is
加沙出
fundamental
现
to
严重人
ensure
道
the
主义危
safety
机。
of civilians and open
王毅夫人
corridors
指
for
出，
aid so as
巴勒
to
斯坦问
avoid
题是中东
humanitarian
问题的核
crisis.
心，
He pointed out that the
症结在于
Palestinian
一直没有
question
还
is
巴
the
勒斯坦人
core
民一
of
个
the
公
Middle
道。
East issue, and the
此
crux
次
of
冲
the
突以极
matter
为惨
is
烈的
that
方式
justice has
再
not
次
been
证
done
明，
to the Palestinian
解决
people.
巴勒斯坦
The
问题的出路
conflict
在
once
于
again proved in an
尽快
extremely
恢复
tragic
真正的
manner
和谈，
that the way to solve the
实现巴勒斯
Palestinian
坦
issue
民族的
lies
正
in
当权利。
resuming genuine peace talks
中方呼
and
吁尽快召
realizing
开
the
更加权威、
legitimate
更
rights
有
of the
影响的国际
Palestinian
和会，
nation. China
推动
calls
国际
for
社
a
会以
more
两国方案为基
authoritative
础，
and
达成
influential
更广泛
international
共识，
peace conference as soon as
并
possible
为此制
to
定时
push
间
the
表和
international
路线图。
community to reach a broader
联合国
consensus.
有责任有义务在巴勒
And
斯坦问题上
based
发挥应
on
有
a
作用。
two-state solution and formulate
中
a
方支持安理
timetable
会
and a
就巴以
roadmap.
冲突举行
The
紧急
UN
会议，
has the responsibility
赞
and
同聚焦
obligation
人
to
道主义
play
关
its
切，
due role.
明确
China
要求
supports the
停
Security
火止
Council
暴，
in holding
保
an
护平
emergency
民，
meeting, agrees
形
to
成有
focus
约
on
束力的国际
humanitarian
共识，
concerns, clearly calls
为
for
此拿
practical
出
measures
实际举
to
措。
a ceasefire, an end to
中方愿同
violence,
巴西及有
protection
关
of
各方就
civilians,
此保
and
持
the
沟通协调，
formation of
密
a
切合
binding
作。
international consensus. China is
阿莫林
willing
表
to
示，
keep
解
in
决问题
touch
的
with
关
all
键在于
parts.
恢复和谈。
Amorian said the
巴方
key
愿
to
同中方密切
resolving the
协调，
conflict is
共
to
同推动
resume
局势
peace
缓和。
talks. China is willing
我要
to
强调的
work with
是，
Brazil to jointly
中方在
de-escalate
巴
the
勒斯坦问题
situation.
上
I need to
没有
stress
私利，
that China has no
始终
selfish
站在和
interests
平一边，
and always stands
站在
on the
公平
right
正义一
side
边。
of peace, fairness, and
连日来，
justice.
中国政府
Over
中
the
东问题
past
特
few
使翟
days,
俊分
Special
别同埃
Envoy
及、
of the
巴勒
Chinese
斯坦、以色
government
列、
on the
沙特
Middle
外交
East
部有
issue
关负责
Zhai
人通
Jun
电话，
had talks on the
就
phone
当
with
前巴以局
officials
势
of the
表明中
foreign
方立场，
ministries of
积极
Egypt,
劝和促谈。
Palestine, Israel, and Saudi
中方
Arabia,
将继续
making
同地
clear
区国
China's
家和
position
国际社会
on
一
the
道，
current situation between
推动停
Palestine
火
and
止暴，
Israel.
努力避免
China
出现
will
大规
continue
模人
to
道主义
work
危
with
机，
regional countries
为推
to
动巴勒
promote
斯坦问题
ceasefire
的
and
全面、
cessation
公正、
of
持久
violence,
解决
avert
发挥
a
建设性
large-scale
作用。
humanitarian crisis, and play a constructive role in realizing a settlement of the question. Thank you.
下一个问题，
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。路透社记者提问：据路透社报道，美国政府正在考虑加大对华芯片出口限制，其中一个新政策可能会限制中国企业通过其海外的单位获取 美国企业制造的人工智能芯片。外交部对此有何评论？谢谢。
中方一贯坚决反对美方将经贸科技问题政治化、
the
工
United
具化、
States
武器
attempts
化。
to politicalize,
全球芯
weaponize,
片
and
产业链供应链的形成和
instrumentalize
发展是市场
economic
规律和
and
企业选
technical
择共同
issues.
作用的
The
结果。
supply chain and
出于政
industrial
治目的，
chains
人为设限或
formation
强
is
行
the
脱钩，
result of market
违反
law
市场经
and
济和公
choices
平
of
竞争的原则，
enterprises
破坏国际
out
经贸
of the
秩序，
political
扰乱全球
aims
产业链供应链
to
稳定，
decouple
最终
or
将损害
violate
整个世
economic
界的利益。
rules
中方
and
将密切关注有
principle
关动
of
向，
fair
坚决维
competition.
护自身权益。
It will undermine the international rules and the world's rule and interest. China will follow this closely. Next one, please.
Question for Anadolu Agency. Eli Cohen, an Israeli foreign ministry official, after a talk with Jai Jun, China's special envoy to Middle East, expressed, and I quote, Israel's disappointment with Chinese statements and media releases. He claimed statements didn't include a clear and unambiguous condemnation of Hamas attacks. We also heard a similar thing yesterday when U.S. Ambassador to China, Nicholas Burns, in a speech said they were disappointed by China's response to recent conflict, not condemning Hamas directly and stressing the need for two-state solution. So my question is, how does China see this expectation exemplified by these two statements to condemn just one side of the conflict? And meanwhile, Israel is about to launch an all-out offensive to already blockaded enclave and launch airstrikes that kills civilians in that area, in Gaza. So how does China sees this pressure, this expectation to unilaterally condemn one side? And by the way, these countries are not condemning civilian harm to the other side. Thank you.
土耳其阿纳多卢提问：在翟俊特使与以色列方面的对话中，以色列方面称，他们对于中方的表态非常的失望，认为中方发布的消息稿中并没有清楚地对哈马斯的攻击进行谴责。昨日，美国驻华大使伯恩斯也在一次演讲中表示，他们对中国在最近巴以冲突中的反应感到失望。中国没有谴责哈马斯，并且强调了两国解决方案的必要性。那你如何看待这两国所做的评论，只希望中国谴责一方？另外，我们看到以色列也开始进行全面防卫，并且针对加沙的平民进行空袭，造成了诸多的伤亡。你如何看待这两个国家只谴责一方，但是并不谴责对方的平民伤亡？
刚才我已经介绍了，在巴以冲突问题上，中
中
方始终站在公平正义一边。我们反对伤害平民、违反国际法行为。我们始终致力于积极劝和促谈，推动停火止暴。中方将继续为缓和局势、恢复和谈而不懈努力。下一个问题。
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。总台央视记者提问：据报道，联合国人权理事会第54届会议协商遗嘱。
It's reported that the 54th session of the Human Rights Council adopted with consensus a draft resolution on promoting and protecting economic, social, and cultural rights within the context of addressing inequalities. Could you offer more information on this? On October 12th, the 54th session of the Human Rights Council adopted a draft resolution on promoting and protecting economic, social, and cultural rights within the context of addressing inequalities.
决议强调应加强国际合作，通过能力建设促进经社文权利。决定设立联合国人权高专办经社文权利支持中心，各方纷纷向中方表示祝贺和感谢。发展中国家普遍赞赏决议，有力回应国际社会关于加大经社文权利重视和投入，构建公正包容国际秩序的强烈呼声。 有利于
developing
更好
countries
促
have
进和保
commended
护
the
人权。
resolution as a strong response to the
中
international
国已当选
community's
2024至 2026
call
年度
for
人
greater
权理事会成
emphasis
员
on
国，
and input into economic
将
and
继续
social
弘
and
扬全人
cultural
类共
rights.
同价
China
值，
has been
坚持
elected
真
a
正的多
member
边
of
主
the
义，
Human Rights Council for the
积极参与人权
2024
理
to
事会工作，
2026 term.
倡
China
导
will
以安
continue to
全守
uphold
护
the
人
common
权，
values of
以
humanity
发
and
展
true
促进人权，
multilateralism,
以
active
合作推
participate in
进
the
人
work
权，
of the Council,
为推
advocate
动
for
国
the
际人权事业
protection
健
and
康发
promotion
展
of human
做
rights,
出
the
更大贡
security
献。
development and cooperation, and contribute more to the sound development of human rights cause.
下一个问
Thank
题
you. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。环球时报记者提问：日前，北京大学新结构经济学研究院发布了题为《中国对非主权融资有效性研究
The
报告》，
Institute of New
分析中国
Infrastructure
贷款对
Economics
非
of
洲
Peking
发展的多
University
边性影
recently
响。
released a
请问中
report
方
of
如
a
何评
study
价
on the
对非主权融
effectiveness
资
of
取得
China's
的效果？
sovereign financing in
我们注意
Africa.
到有
How
关
does
的报
China
告，
evaluate the
相关
outcome
报
of
告
the
基于
sovereign's
数据和
financing
案
in
例，
Africa?
量化
We
分析
noted the
中国
reports.
对
This
非洲国家
document,
主权
after
融资成效。
quantitative study on the
报
outcome
告
of
发现，
China's
中方
sovereign
融资
financing in
对支持
Africa
非洲
based
国
on
家经济增
statistics
长、
and
改善基础
specific
设施、
cases found that
增加
China's
出口创
financing
汇，吸
has
引外国直接
produced a
投资，
significant
提高
positive
入学率，
effect on supporting
拉动
economic
就业
growth,
等，产
improving
生显著的
infrastructure,
正面效应。
increasing foreign exchange,
研究结果
earning
再次
through
表明，
export, attracting
中方融
FDI,
资对
increasing
非洲
school
经济
enrollment
自主
rate
可
and
持续发
driving
展和民
employment
生
in
改善
African countries.
发挥了
The
积极作用。
study shows that China's
中方
financing
愿继续
has
根据
played a
非方需
positive
要
role in
开展
helping
融资合
Africa
作，
build capacity
同时也
for
呼吁国
growth
际社
and
会
improve people's
加大对
well-being.
非支
China
持，
is ready to
共促
continue to
非洲
carry
发
out
展。
financing cooperation with Africa and to call on the international community to step up
下一个问题。
support for Africa and jointly contribute to its development. Thank you. Next one, please.
I'm from Japanese newspaper, the Maishin. I have a question about the International Monetary Fund, IMF. At the IMF's annual meeting currently held in Morocco, the method of increasing the IMF's capital is being discussed. The US is trying to reach an agreement that each country will increase its capital without changing to its shareholding structure. Voting rights in the IMF are determined according to the amount of investment. Will Chinese government agree to a capital increase without changing to its shareholding structure?
读卖新闻提问。
中方一贯认为，基金组织份额改
China
革
believes that
应
the
实现
quota
份额
of
增幅和
IMF
占比调
should
整，
adjust
体
the
现基
quota
金组
capital
织以
increase
份额
and
为基
its
础的机构
ratio
性质，
in order to show
并更
its
好反映成
nature
员国在全
based
球
on
经济中的
quota
相对地
and to
位，
reflect the
提
relative
高新兴
status
市场
of
和发展中
IMF
国家
member
的话语
countries in the
权和
global
代表性。
economy and improves the representation and the say of emerging markets and developing
下一个问
countries.
题。
Thank you. Next one, please.
Question for Anadolu Agency. Recently, China called Egypt for joint efforts to urge parties in Israel-Palestine conflict to cease fire and provide humanitarian help. And also we learned that you also reached out to Israel side as well, as we understand from the Israeli statement. Can you give an update about China's recent diplomatic efforts about the situation?
土耳其阿纳多卢提问：近日，中国呼吁埃及一同敦促巴以冲突各方停火，并提供人道主义援助。通过我们对以色列方面消息的了解，中国也是同以色列方面进行对话。你能否介绍近期中国外交工作的最新情况？
谢谢你提的相关问题。刚才我已
Thank
经
you
介
for your
绍了
question.
中
I
共中央
just
政治委员、中央
mentioned
外办主任王毅
the
应约同
news
巴西总统
that
首席特别顾
Director
问
Wang Yi
阿莫
had
林
a
通
phone
电话
call
就
with
巴以冲突交换案意见
Amorim,
的
Chief
有关情
Advisor
况。
of the
这里
Presidency
呢，
of
我也愿意给大
Brazil.
家介绍一下，连日
Here,
来，
I'd
中国
like
政
to
府中东问
introduce
题
to
特使翟
you
俊密集同巴勒斯
Special
坦、以色列、
Envoy
埃及、
翟
沙特等中
Jun's
东国家外交部负责人
calls
通电话，
with
就当前
relevant
巴以紧
staff
张局势
from
同
Egypt
各方进行沟
and
通，
other countries.
推动局势降温，
The
避免
Chinese
冲
side
突扩大，
has
保护
kept in
平
touch
民，
with
防
relevant
止局势
sides
升
to
级
cool
造成人
down
道
the
主义灾难。
situation, protect
翟
civilians,
俊
and
特使在
avoid the
通话当中强
humanitarian
调，
crisis.
破解
Special
巴以
Envoy
冲突
翟俊
循环
mentioned
往复
that
的出路在于
to break
回到
this
两国方案的基础
cycle
上，
of the Palestinian
恢复
question,
和谈，
the
建立
core
独立的
is
巴勒斯
to
坦
go
国，
back to
实现巴以和平
two-state
共处。
solution
国际社会应
achieve
肩
peaceful
负起责任，
coexistence
为重
between
启和平
two
进程
parties,
创造
the
条件。
international community should create
中方将
conditions
继续
for the
同各方
resumption
保
of
持密
peace
切沟
talks.
通协
The
调，
Chinese side
为推
will
动局势缓和、
continue
缓解人道
communication
主义
with
危机、
other
尽快重启
parties
和谈
to cool down
做出积极
situation,
努力。
resume peace talks, and avoid humanitarian crisis. Thank you.
下一个问题，
Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。深圳卫视执新闻提问：据媒体报道，盘踞在叙利亚的东伊运恐怖分子参与了。
It was reported that ETIM in Syria was involved in the recent terrorist drone attack on a military academy in Homs, Syria, causing heavy casualties. What
中
is
方
your
坚决反
comment?
对一切
China
形式的
firmly
暴力恐怖
opposes
行
all
为，
forms of violent
强烈
terrorist
谴责此
acts.
次恐怖袭
We
击事件，
condemn this terrorist
对遇
attack,
难者表示哀悼，
mourn for the
向
victims,
他们
and
的家
offer
人
our
和受伤人
sympathies
员表
to the
示同
wounded
情和慰问。
and the families. These
东伊运
bereaved
是被联合
families.
国安理会列明的恐
The
怖组织。
Eastern Turkestan
近
Islamic
年来，
Movement
大量东
is
伊运
a
分子
UN-listed
流窜
terrorist
至战乱地区，
organization. In
同
recent
国际
years,
恐
a
怖势力
large number
沆
of
瀣一气，
ETIM elements have
实施了大
fled
量
to
暴力
war-ridden
恐怖活动，
areas and
对有
connived
关
with
国
other
家和地
terrorist
区的安全
forces
稳
to
定
carry
构
out
成严重
violent
危害。
terrorist activities.
打
which
击东伊运是
threaten the
国际反
security
恐
and
斗争的
stability
重
of
要组
relevant
成部分。
countries. Combating ETIM
中方
is
愿
an
同包括
important
叙利亚
part
在内的
of
有
the
关国
global
家加强
counterterrorism
沟通协
efforts.
调，
China is ready to step
共
up
同打击东伊运恐
coordination
怖势力，
with Syria and
维
other
护地
relevant
区和
countries
世界
to
和平与
combat
安
the
全。
terrorist force ETIM and safeguard the peace and stability of the region
下一个
and the
问题。
world. Thank you. Next one, please.
您好，新华社记者提问：我们注意到联合国高级官员日前在访问刚果金时，赞赏中国维和部队作风优良，为刚果军人民提供支持，并为该国和平进程做出贡献。联合国驻南苏丹特派团不久前向中国提出评估南苏丹驻巴维和步兵营官兵授予联合国和平荣誉勋章。自联合国维和行动技术部中年，发言人如何评价中国为联合国维和行动做出贡献？
自1990年首次向联合国停战监督组织派出军事观察员起，中国累计派出维和人员5万余人次，赴20多个国家和地区参加联合国维和行动。从排雷清暴、监督停火，到安全护卫、紧急救援，不管面前是硝烟战火还是疫情灾害，中国维和部队的官兵都英勇无畏，不辱使命，守护安全与稳定，为此不惜献出生命。他们既带来和平的曙光，又播下发展的种子。他们的担当与大爱赢得当地民众和国际社会的广泛赞誉。在黎巴嫩，中国维和医疗分队多次为当地百姓义诊赠药，提供人道主义医疗援助。在苏丹，中国蓝盔在沙漠边缘区打铁，让达尔富尔民众喝上放心水。在南苏丹，中国维和官兵向当地人民传授农业技术，赠送农具菜种。在刚果金，中国维和部队与布卡武市国际儿童村结成对子，中国维和女官兵被当地的儿童亲切称为中国妈妈。中国蓝盔所到之处，和平蓝与中国红交相辉映，构成当地亮丽的风景线。中国参加联合国维和行动走过了30余年不平凡的历程。今天，中国已成为安理会常任理事国当中派遣维和人员最多的国家，也是联合国第2大维和摊款国，被国际社会誉为维和行动的关键因素和关键力量。中国将继续做联合国维和行动的积极参与者，以实际行动为世界和平与发展贡献更大力量。下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Alan Wong from Bloomberg News. Can you tell me if any decision has been made whether or not President Xi Jinping will be attending APEC in San Francisco next month and meet President Biden?
彭博社提问。
关于中方出席 APEC 领导人
As regard to the question you just mentioned, we will release the information properly. Please stay tuned. Thank you. Next one, please.
Question for honorable agency. Israel Defense Minister Yoav Gallant made these remarks about their operations in Gaza, and I quote, "No electricity, no food, no water, no gas. It's all closed. We are fighting animals and are acting accordingly." What does China think about this dehumanizing rhetoric, which clearly indicates an atrocity and war crime against the civilian population?
希望记者重复一下他的问题。Could you please repeat your question?
Sure. Israel's Defense Minister Yoav Gallant made these remarks about their operations in Gaza, and I quote, "No electricity, no food, no water, no gas. It's all closed. We are fighting animals and are acting accordingly." So my question is, what does China think about this dehumanizing rhetoric, which clearly indicates an atrocity and war crime against the civilian population?
以色列防长，
正如我刚才介绍的，王毅主任在同
As I just mentioned, Director Wang Yi, during his call with Chief Advisor to Brazil's president, had expressed China's position. We oppose any attempt that harms civilians and violate international law. China calls on all parties observing the international law and avoiding further escalation. The fundamental urgency now is to open a corridor and avoid humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip. Thank you. Next one, please.
谢谢发言人。环球时报记者在追问一个巴以冲突问题。近日，以色列组建战时内阁，要求加沙地带北部的110万居民在24小时之内转移至南部地区。联合国秘书长古特雷斯强烈呼吁以色列取消对加沙北部居民的驱逐令，呼吁各方避免事态进一步升级和蔓延。请问中方对此有何评论？
中方注意到古特雷斯秘书长的有关表态，对巴以冲突造成大量平民伤亡感到十分痛心，对冲突可能进一步扩大深感忧虑。中方反对任何伤害平民、违反国际法的行为，支持联合国为避免事态进一步升级和蔓延，维护国际人道法发挥重要作用，呼吁国际社会共同努力，防止冲突进一步扩大，避免发生严重的人道主义灾难。中方将继续为此做出最大努力。下一个问题。
Next one, please.
Question for Honorable Agency. Human Rights Watch reported that Israel had used white phosphorus bombs in military operations in Gaza and Lebanon, putting civilians at risk of serious harm and long-term injuries. Organization also pointed out using this kind of ammunition in populated areas is unlawful. What does China's comment would be?
阿纳多卢提问：人权观察组织报告，以色列在加沙和黎巴嫩的军事行动中使用了白磷弹，使平民面临严重和长期的危害。该组织还指出，在人口密集的地区使用这种弹药是非法的。中方对此有何评论？
中方注意到相关的报道。
China noted relevant reports. China opposes acts that harm civilians and violate international laws. China calls on all parties to keep restraint, cool down the situation, and avoid further escalation of the fighting. Next one, please.
下一个问题。大家还有问题吗？
Are there any questions?
谢谢法新社。俄罗斯官方媒体报道称，普京总统将出席在北京举行的“一带一路”高峰论坛。中方现在能不能证实这一消息？
这个问题我们此前已经多次回答过了。
My colleagues have just have answered your question before. You can consult it. Next one, please.
您好，中国日报提问。
China Daily, on October 10th, the first section of the Padma Bridge Rail Link project, a flagship Belt and Road project in Bangladesh, was officially launched. This is yet another important outcome of the hard work and activity. What's your comment? Infrastructure connectivity is a priority of Belt and Road Cooperation. The Padma Bridge Rail Link project is one of the significant projects. The official launch of the first section is a dream come true moment for Bangladesh people who hope that one day they could ride a train across the Padma River. The launch is expected to directly benefit 80 million people and drive up Bangladesh's economic growth by 1.5 percentage points. Under the BRI connectivity framework comprising 6 corridors, 6 routes, and multiple countries and ports, a full-dimensional network of land, sea, air, and cyber connectivity has taken shape. Infrastructure projects have helped participating countries realize their dream for shared prosperity. East Africa now has its first transboundary electrified rail, the Addis Ababa Djibouti Railway. The Budapest-Belgrade Railway has slashed the travel time between Hungary and Serbia. The China-Laos Railway turned landlocked Laos into a land-linked country, adding over 100,000 jobs. And the Jakarta-Bandung High-Speed Railway is the fastest in Southeast Asia, creating 510,000 local jobs. The Mombasa-Nairobi Railway accounts for 2% of Kenya's economic growth. Over the past decade, BRI Infrastructure Corporation has served as a new platform for international trade and investment. A World Bank report shows that thanks to BRI projects, trade costs for the world would decline by 1.8%. Trade is estimated to grow by between 2.8 and 9.7% for corridor economics, and between 1.7% and 6.2% for the world, and global real income is expected to increase by 0.7 to 2.9%. Data from sensing satellites show that more and more places along the 6 economic corridors are lit up at night. Alone, the China-Indonesia Peninsula Economic Corridor, nighttime light grew by 5.57%, far exceeding the global average increase of 1.3%. The BRI is proposed by China for the benefit of the world, held as a road to happiness, a belt of development. BRI brings smiles and hope around the globe as numbers of partners grow. Connectivity has brought them life-changing benefits and a future full of hope. At the third BR Forum for International Cooperation Approaches, we look forward to taking this opportunity to take stock of the fruitful decade-long BRI cooperation and chart the course for the next decade of high-quality cooperation within the participants. Thank you. Next one, please.
Yes, Alan from Bloomberg again. Chuck Schumer came to China last week, and he's just the latest in a recent slew of U.S. officials, top officials and politicians who be coming to China. Next month, the U.S. has been invited to China's Defense Forum. Just asking you whether or not can you assess the state of U.S.-China relations? Would you say there's been a gradual improvement in relations between China and the U.S.?
彭博社提问：上周舒默访华，并且近期美国高层官员也多次访华。下个月中国将举办防务会议，您如何看待中美之间的关系？是否认为正在转圜？
中方始终按照习近平主席提出的
China always views and handles China-U.S. relations in accordance with the 3 principles proposed by President Xi Jinping, namely mutual respect, peaceful coexistence, and win-win cooperation. We hope that the U.S. will work with China towards the same direction to bring the relations back to a track of stability. Next one, please. Are there any questions? If not, then let's call it a day. Thank you.